Good morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 37. We're going to recap the NFL Sunday with the Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about the upcoming Thursday Night Football game with what's upcoming with college football. But before I get too far, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
Good. I did good. The games were really good Sunday. The 12 o'clock games were good on Sunday. 3 o'clock games, not so much. They were kind of probably could have took a nap on them 3 o'clock games. But then we had a good Sunday night game. So
yeah, and it was a good game, but a sloppy game. Like it came down to a good game, but it was. I mean, Jared Goff threw on 5 touchdowns. We'll talk about that. Let's start with our first must-watch game: Steelers versus Commanders. What did you think about that game?
Yeah, this was a good game. I thought that they went back and forth. Eckler had the 1 yard run. It made it 17-14. It just seemed like they were just the game was just like Jane Daniels didn't get too big for the game. They played really well. I think that offside penalty at the end really hurt them. I don't think they would have came back, and they're not ready yet. I don't think Washington's ready for that next step. And like I said, Tomlin coming out of a bye always seems like he's another Andy Reid kind of person. And coaching wise, he gets his team prepared to win out of a bye. He always has his team prepared. That is one thing about Tomlin you can never take away from him, as he always has his team prepared. That team is never not. It doesn't look like he's ready to show up. His teams are never like that. And you had Russell Wilson throw that sweet pass to Mike Williams in the end zone that got the lead. It was just like, and what I heard is that Mike Williams, when he got traded to Pittsburgh, was smiling from ear to ear when he got into the locker room of Pittsburgh because of the toxic work environment that is going on in the Jets, which we'll talk about that later. But it was just, and I thought it was back and forth. The defenses both played well. It just seemed like they just outlasted them, and they drew that offside penalty, and then the ball game was over.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think in this game you saw as well too. It's like, you're saying I don't think Jane Daniels or Washington's ready for it. I think they're ready for it. I just think Pittsburgh has a good team this year, and I think the thing where the Justin Fields, they were okay, and then Mike Tomlin comes and says we're going to Russell Wilson because we don't want to be good, we want to be great. And it's like when you look at that AFC teams, I mean, yes, you got Kansas City in there, you got Baltimore in there, but what Pittsburgh does well is plays defense.
Yeah.
And able to get off the edge and get to the quarterback. I did think it was hilarious in that pass play to George Pickens down the field, and it got intercepted, and then George Pickens decided it's WWE. It's not football anymore.
Right.
Which I watched a reel today of George Pickens of all of his outlandish things that he's done. I mean, when he was back in Georgia and doing some of the things he did there. So, but I definitely agree. I think when you look at this game, it looked like Najee kind of took a little bit of a step back. Jaylen Warren took a little bit, but then you had that fumble, which became a huge situation as well. But, Terry McLaurin is, and I think that's what Washington needs. I know you have Zach Ertz there, but you kind of need another wide receiver to take that forward, or Noah Brown or Luke McCaffrey. One of these guys got to step up because, 5 catches for 113 yards. It's like, okay, it's a good game, but it didn't get you guys over that finish line. And Mike Williams to Pittsburgh, Mike Williams is a game changer because it opens up Pickens a little bit now.
Yeah.
So, and then you get that run game going with Najee, and because what Pittsburgh reminds me of is a little bit of Detroit with a good defense and then 1-2 attack with the running backs, and then 2 wide receivers or playmakers that can, because you're not even talking about Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah.
And then you got Darnell Washington, which is like 300 pounds at tight end. I remember when he was at Georgia, and they were like,
right.
But it was a good game. I thought it was a great
game.
I
do too. I agree. I mean, they just outlast. It was just a knockdown, drag out kind of. And the Steelers outlasted them. They made all the right plays at the end to get them over the hump. I mean, that Wilson throw to Williams was just a sweet little dime. I mean, he just ran, and that's how Wilson throws the ball. He throws it like a little loop instead of like Fields where he throws to the line drive. Wilson throws a little air underneath it and lets the runner run underneath of it. Where Fields, his was just bullets. So I think we all kind of criticized Tomlin for making the change. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, I think they've won 3 in a row since they made the change. I think Tomlin knows talent. So I think that's the biggest deal too. He knew with Wilson, he's got a talented veteran quarterback, which Fields is still green around the edges.
I agree, and I think Russell Wilson's. It just seems like it's like the old Nerf footballs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then come down like perfect. Yeah. I mean, are we talking about the new Russell Wilson in this situation? But that takes us to our second must-watch game: 49ers versus Buccaneers. McCaffrey did get a little playing time, but not huge of a difference in this game. Baker Mayfield, I feel so bad for him because he didn't got his weapons, but at the same time, that play where he's got
I was just gonna already say that. He's stiff arming Nick. Is it Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa?
It's Nick, because Joey's
is it Nick? Okay.
But yeah, he's got that stiff arm. He throws it was just that's the kind of guy that you just root for, because when the game's on the line, it was a 4th down play. It was one of these things. I just feel bad for him. I wish he had a little bit, but Bucky Irving, Rachaad White helped in this game, helped out with the taking on the action, and Rachaad even got into the passing game. But if they had Mike Evans, if they had even one of them, it just
I think they win the game. I do too. I think they win it because their 49ers kicking wasn't really the greatest. Moody just came back from injury. He kicked 6 field goals, only made 3 out of the 6. And then when he missed the 3rd one, him and Deebo Samuel decided he got into the long snapper, and the long snapper was going right back at him. And it's like, oh, nice. I mean, I think he was pretty much saying, hey, you guys, straighten your act up or else.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you put that on the side, you take that off deal, but he took a swing at him. I was like, nice. I mean, he was just frustrated.
And I think it's a little bit of also too of it was a close game all game, right?
Yeah.
So it was one of the things where we can't afford for shit to be missed. And if I'm going to play at my certain level, if Brock Purdy's going to play at his level, then you need to be playing at your level. I also there is a level, right, in the NFL. Like, so wide receivers, your star players, your quarterback, they get a little bit more leniency. Long snapper, you ain't got. So when he kind of went back at it, was like, yo, relax. They can find you. They can find another you. Okay.
Right.
So, what'd you think about this game, though?
Also, too, I mean, I think the big drive when they went down to tie it, they had 2 penalties. They had the holding penalty and the face mask penalty to keep their Bucs drive alive. I mean, and also too, boy, you really could tell that Purdy missed CMC.
Yeah.
Because he was running the ball pretty good. I mean, they didn't have him. I think they had him a little bit on a snap count, but not a whole lot. But he was catching the ball from the backfield and running the ball. I mean, you could tell that he really needs him. To be successful, he's really going to need him down the stretch.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then they drive down and the key pass from Jennings, and then Moody goes in there and kicks that. He's missed 3 field goals, and then he kicks that one right at the end. It's just and that's the 2nd week in a row for Mayfield. Like you said, you feel sorry for the guy because it's like he's doing the best he can with what he's got around him. I mean, the running attack is still good. They still got people out of the backfield that can catch the ball with White and Bucky Irving, but they just don't have the talent to compete with the bigger the 49ers or the Chiefs or anybody that's really good.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the Baker of Cleveland, right? Like Baker in Cleveland, he would get some type of weapons, or there'd be always something happening, but he gave 110% every time he went out there. I hope he got his money, so don't get me wrong here, but like, I hope they keep him around. He's a good quarterback. He makes plays. I mean, we see in the NFL and Chicago right now with their whole situation, hard to find a good quarterback. So once you have him, just put weapons around him. So the other thing too about this game is Ricky Pearsall gets his touchdown.
Right off the bat, right off the beginning of the game.
6 months ago or less than that, I mean, he took a bullet to the chest at 3:00 in the afternoon in San Francisco. So, I mean, it's crazy to think that he came back, still playing this. Juwan Jennings had a little bit more of a play in this game as well. But they miss, Brandon Ayuk out this rest of this year. That I didn't think he was that big of a contributor to that offense, but you can see that they kind of need that a little bit. But once CMC kind of gets those wheels going, it's like a train.
Yeah.
it's going to be scary what he's going to be like eventually.
Yeah, and also Tampa Bay lost their offensive tackle Wirtz. He
Yeah.
came out with a knee injury, so that was a key too. That's hard. I mean, he's one of their better offensive linemen they've got, and when you lose that, that's hard to recover because he's a pretty good offensive lineman.
Totally agree. So that takes us to our last must-watch game, which was Sunday night's football. Very interesting, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. But the Lions versus the Texans. What do you think about this game?
You know what? I swore I thought that it's another one of these games like the Denver Kansas City game. You got to score in the second half. Yeah, you put up 23 points in the first half. You didn't score in the second half. You can't do that in the NFL. I'm sorry, you can't do that in anyone. But you got to come out with the same intensity in the first half as you do in the second half. And I thought for sure that the line. I mean, he threw 5 interceptions. So I mean that Goff threw 5 interceptions. That's a big one. So
yeah, you can keep going.
Okay, I mean, and then they come out at halftime. Stroud throws an interception. He had 2 interceptions as well. So I mean, that's it just seems like he's missing Nico Collins, and they just are not the same team as they were last year. And they loaded up this year for a championship run, and they just can't get over that hump this year.
Yeah, but their team that they loaded up are the players they went and got. Outside of Joe Mixon, who else is? I mean, Danielle Hunter's not a bad addition to that Texans team.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but it feels like the guys they went and got are no longer a part of the offense.
Right.
I mean, Stephon Diggs being down, and yes, they went out, but I don't want to take a shot at C.J. Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud's still playing good football, but at the same time, 2 interceptions in this game. I mean, Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions.
And they still win
this game. Now, do I blame all those on Jared Goff? No. I mean, one was deflected which it was like a kamikaze. He gets deflected at the line of scrimmage, and then like this linebacker just comes out of nowhere and picks it off.
Yeah.
Like that drops to the ground most of the time. But when your defense gets 5 interceptions, you got to do something. You got to do and stop. And I felt like in the second half they played not to lose,
right,
instead of playing to win. They stopped taking some of their chances. They thought the run game would just keep them in. It was like you let them come back in, and you can't give Detroit that. Which I will say, the greatest or the best thing about this game was they do a halftime interview with Campbell, and he's like, "Our defense has got to come out and get some turnovers, and if we do that, the last 2 minutes of the game, that'll be ours." And he called it. First play in the second half, throws a pick. C.J. Stroud throws a pick. And then the last 2 minutes, field goal, missed field goal by Texans, made field goal. And so it was, I mean, I turned the game off, 5 interceptions because we had our Sodi bet on this one. I had $3.50. I had 3.5 points on this game, so I turned it off. And then I started seeing they're coming back, so I turned it back on. And then the son of a punk has to kick a field goal for me to lose by half a point on this one. But
well, and then Fairbank went up for like a 58-yarder or something, and he missed his. So it's just like say they scored 2 touchdowns. That was it, and 3 field goals, and then they didn't score in the second half. So you've got to. Anytime you got a team down like that, you've got to put the pedal to the metal, man, and keep going. And they didn't. They just kind of thought they could coast, and even with all them interceptions, they still let them back in the ballgame. I mean, Gibbs and Montgomery is still. You had Amari St. Brown catching balls. I mean, they were just James Williams. The big deal, Laporta, now he's going to be out for a little bit with a sprained AC joint, so that could hurt him a little bit. But they can plug in Williams now. Williams is going to get just more touches. So I mean, it just they just got somebody else too. And then the Zadarius Smith, he doesn't play for Detroit, which that didn't matter because they didn't need him. So I mean that defense is still good, and I think that defense will take them. I think it'll take them to the Super Bowl this year because you know what I think they're going to get. They're going to get a home field advantage throughout the playoffs if they can continue to play like they are. And I think that the road is going to go through Detroit.
Well, and you look in the NFC and you say, who else? Who else?
Yeah,
Bay, maybe. I mean, with Love and the injuries and all that, maybe. Vikings didn't look good Sunday. Eagles are playing okay, but can they?
I thought the Rams were going to make a run. They
Yeah.
proved me wrong again last night. Boy, they look like hot garbage.
Yeah, so I think, but so there was I was watching Pat McAfee it was either today or yesterday, but they showed a stat between the Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit about how both of them how they're like how they've won some of these games, even though the
Right.
stats
I did see that too. I seen that too. Yeah.
and like because we'll talk about the Kansas City game a little bit as well because that was awful, but they win these games. But you know they win these games, they win them barely, or they get lucky or whatever. But you know what it is? It's a W.
Yep.
And that's what's going to get you guys into. Because do they have all the talent? Yes. Detroit has a lot of talent. Kansas City has a lot of talent. They can do whatever they want. But it's the games when you didn't play your best 3 quarters. Can you
Right.
win fourth? And
Well,
that's,
even that field goal that Bates made at the end to win for the win.
oh, just.
If they have how the commentator said, if there was an extra paint on that pole, it would have doinked it.
Yep.
So I mean, he made it so that's where you could tell where, like you just said, the good teams know how to win. And I think it took the Lions 1 year to figure that out, like last year. But I think the Lions would have made Super Bowls last year if Campbell doesn't coach the way he did.
Well, and I think more of the Lions, you're talking more of like, and I've said this multiple times, but last year it was like whoa, what is this team? Oh my God.
Right. They came out of nowhere. Yeah.
This year it's expectations, but it's
Yep.
also they're used to winning. And now
Yep.
they know what it takes to win, and they're going to play their game. They know Jared Goff and what his limitations are. They know they have a 1-2 punch, and then they have wide receivers that can do what they can. And then they went out and said, hey, we're going to make the defense. And I truly believe that Zadarius Smith not playing it was like, I don't know why he didn't play. I don't know if it was the
I think with personal reasons. They were saying that he wasn't comfortable with the system just yet.
Okay.
So he wanted another week to get comfortable with the system. And that's what they said in the pregame. So
get your ass around the corner. That's all your job. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so
yeah, I know.
But yeah, so I did see that, but I just think this team, I mean, as a Vikings fan, it's hard to watch Detroit play this well because it's like, damn it, because I thought the Vikings could have gave him a run for the money. Obviously, we saw it Sunday, but when you look at the NFC North or the NFC, I just don't know a team that's going to compete with them.
Yeah, it's got to be a team that's going to have to get, like maybe a 49ers, now that they got CMC, they're going to have to get hot. And I don't know if they can. I think they're too far back. They're just going to have to spend so much energy to get up to that point. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to have enough energy come playoff time to match what Detroit's going on. I mean, they just got the 1-2 punch in the backfield, and they've got the receivers. And if they get any kind of defense, which they have been, they're going to be unstoppable. And they're going to have to play, and they're going to play at home in front of all them fans. That's going to be tough.
And you know Detroit's won it because they got that one game of home field last year. They won it all. They won it, and they want So we'll go through the rest of the NFL, see what the scores were. So on Sunday, we did have a international game. Panthers win 20-17 in overtime. Giants are a bunch of hot garbage. The Bear down. Oh, no, Bear up. Patriots win 19-3 against this awful Bears team. Bills beat the Colts 30-20. Chiefs win 16-14 with a blocked field goal to win the game. Saints get a win with the new coach Riz 20-17 against the Falcons. The Vikings win 12-7, scoring 9 in the third and fourth to get them the win there. The Chargers beat the Titans 27-17. The Eagles win 34-6 against the Cowboys because the Cowboys are garbage. Cardinals beat the Jets 31-6, again, because we're speaking of garbage, the Jets. And then last night, the Dolphins beat the Rams 23-15. What did you think about this weekend?
Well, as a Broncos fan, I didn't really care for the ending of that game as far as the Chiefs. It just seems like the Chiefs, I don't know, somebody said in one of the deals, they must have a lucky rabbit's foot in their pockets because they just seem like they can. And you know what? Peyton played that game perfect. Other than they didn't score any points in the second half, kind of like Texans. You've got to score points against Patrick Mahomes. You cannot let him their defense played awesome against him. They made him get into, they collapsed the pocket a lot. Yeah. I mean, they played the perfect game. And then he got the ball downfield. They made a key third down conversion next to Sutton to get it in field goal range. They lined it up. They just didn't block. I don't understand how you can let – they said that before that snap, happen that Kansas City knew where to go because they seen it on film and they knew where to jump at and knew that they could block the field goal. They knew it before they was even going to be snapped just because of Denver's alignment as they lined up. So they knew they had them.
I'm going to stop you right there. So you're saying they got a lucky token, whatever.
Right.
I think they studied the finer things in football.
I think they did too. I think they knew as soon as when they lined up, they knew they were going to be able to block that field goal.
Yeah.
They knew it. And they went in and they jumped in. I mean, Peyton actually had it down to 3 seconds before they could kick the field goal. Perfect timing, because if he makes it, game's over. Game's over. You know, so that was just but you got to score points, man. I think Denver's heading in the right direction with Nix. I think they're 5-5 this year. That's probably as many wins I thought they'd have would be 5 wins all year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're right there. I think they're just not over. I think they need a little more help. You know, Nix is going to need some more help. It's his first year. I think they're there. You know, and then they're a lot closer than what the Bears are. Yeah. Let me tell you. I mean, we've got a quarterback that we got picked 8th and 9th. They've got the number 1, and then we come out to find out today Shane Waldron got fired, which he should. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he should have been fired. That offense was not going anywhere. Williams has got to start getting rid of the ball faster. He cannot take sacks like he did Sunday. That Patriots defense is good, but it ain't that good. I mean, they only scored 3 points? And now they've got this Thomas Brown that was the passing coordinator for the Carolina Panthers under Bryce Young. Hey, how'd that work out for him? But it's just that's a hot garbage mess, you know. Then we talked about the swing that Deebo Samuel had. We got Dallas, another hot garbage deal. Now we got CeeDee Lamb complaining because he can't see the ball because of the sun. Now they say that most stadiums are built, I think, north-south. And this stadium was built east-west. They all have the same advantage. Apparently, they have curtains on the other side of the field that they could use. And Jerry Jones goes, I don't think so. Everybody knows when the sun, the moon, the stars, blah, blah, blah. He's going on this tirade. It's just like, oh, my God. It's a dumpster fire there. I mean, and it starts at the top. So we all know that. So that's just, So I mean that's I mean the Jets. Yeah. Can we say it? The Aaron Rodgers tour is over. I mean that he got everything what he wanted out of this, and he still can't do it. Now there's talk that does he come back next year? I've been listening to the sports talk radio out of New York. They do they want him back? And you know what? He could say, yeah, I'm coming back. So they may have to go run this back through again one more time.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that he's not having fun.
It's not, no.
And losing, it's not fun. But I did see an article today of how much the Jets would have to pay him if he retires,
right?
Because they still owe him money and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, but also let's give Arizona a little bit of their flowers.
Yeah.
I mean, let's start putting respect on what their name is with what they're playing. I mean, they're playing better ball. Kyler Murray looked really good. I mean, it looked like his head came off the play.
Yeah. God, I thought it did come off.
When you just gotta imagine your chin strap coming up your face that way. I mean, the reason it came off is because you don't have it super tight.
Right.
But still, the fact of it coming up in your head's whipping back, it was like. But no, and what I wanted to say too about the Chiefs and Broncos there was reports that the Chiefs they knew this was going to happen, right? But they were messing around with it throughout the game. The other two people, they were giving them nudges and seeing how this would happen. I just think that's Andy Reid. Andy Reid let some of the players make some of the plays sometimes, and you're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Some of the plays work out, some of they don't, right? He lets the game be fun, but when it's focus time, just like what we talked about with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, it was time to focus, and they would focus, get the job done. And unfortunately, I think Sean Payton, you're gonna have some growing pains. Yeah. And if you're Denver, just let it roll. Don't make any changes anytime soon. Don't bench Bo Nix. Don't do anything. I mean, not the Bo Nix.
No, because I think he's playing. I think he's number 2 right now behind Daniels as far as one of the better quarterbacks in the first round this year. I really do.
Keep an eye out for Drake May because
I agree.
The way he played against the Chicago Bears, their defense.
Yeah.
Because statistically, the Patriots have the second worst offensive line. Statistically, right? As so many lineup changes and stuff, and they gave up less sacks than the Chicago Bears did. I mean, the Bears went out and did everything, but they did everything wrong. It doesn't start with the coach. It doesn't start with the GM. It starts with the organization, all in general. Because here's a perfect example. They hired the coach out in Chargers. What's his name?
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh goes to the Chargers. What was his first draft pick?
I think it was offensive. Yeah.
Joe Alt, right?
Yeah.
He said, we're going to the ball. We're going to be a tough team. What did the Bears do after they went and got, or even before they went and got Caleb Williams? They signed a wide receiver.
Yep.
You're not shoring up the O-line.
Right.
Like, Caleb Williams can be great all he wants, but and people are saying he's going backwards. Well, I don't think he's going backwards. I just think the game's going a lot faster than it was at one point.
He's hanging on to the ball too long, too. He needs to get rid of it. I mean, you cannot keep the ball for 9 seconds. You're going to get sacked. It's a get it out and throw it. And we'll survive for another down. He's got to get it because he's good, doing good practice and overthrowing players, but he can't take 9 sacks. That's way too many. He's got to get rid of it.
The last thing I'll say, too, is the difference between Bo Nix, Drake May, and Daniel versus Caleb Williams is every play doesn't have to be the deep ball.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a touchdown every play. And, we saw that at USC kind of. Even when he played against Notre Dame, he was holding on to the ball too long or trying to do too much. And it was like one of these plays where it's like, just do the 5-yard out. Do the 5-yard hitch.
Right.
That's where Daniels, you could definitely see it. He's sitting in the pocket. Drake May's starting to do it. But Bo Nix, if it ain't there, he takes off. So.
What did you think? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, what were you going to say?
What did you think of the Saints coach at the press conference post-game that said that the biggest thing he was worried about is that he clogged the toilet?
So
he clogged the toilet.
He takes a shit. He literally clogs it, and he was like, it looked like it was going to be a crappy day.
Yeah.
Like,
that's how he leads off the post-game conference. It's like, oh, that's fucking. And you can see him on the sideline. He was just, you can tell he's a special teams coach. Yeah. Just like that guy, that Smith from Pittsburgh, always excited, chewing the gum, and you get the facial expressions he had and they beat a good Atlanta team.
Yeah.
I mean, give him his props. They beat a good Atlanta team at home. I mean, they made Kirk Cousins, of course, Robinson still got his carries, Bijan, because I have him in my fantasy, but they made him look not good. I mean, they made him look bad Cousins.
Yeah, but what happened after the game? Did he tear an ACL? Did he?
Who?
The Riz. Did you see the coach after the game?
Oh, no.
Whatever. And then he was like laying on one of the players, and the players was holding him up. And I haven't seen anything about it yet, but
I haven't either. I figured there would be something out on that.
Yeah, a little too extra. But how'd you do on betting this weekend?
Glad you asked. 3-0 for the second week in a row. I had the Commanders Steelers with the Steelers getting 2.5. I had the Patriots getting 6, and they end up winning. And then I had the Bills and Colts, which the Bills, boy, they look pretty good. I mean, they beat up on a Colts team. And now, what are we thinking about Joe Flacco? Are we thinking that maybe Anthony Richardson could be coming back? Because the last 2 weeks, Flacco's not looked very good at all. And that, I know they went up against two pretty good defenses in Bills and Vikings. Thank you. But he's starting to look old.
Yeah.
He just can't. And and they tried to get the ball to Taylor, and Taylor has some pretty good runs, but I don't know.
I don't know how you go back to him after you.
I don't either. That's you may lose the locker room if you do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Well, I ended up going 0-3.
Bad
week. So Vikings, I took the Vikings 6.5. You never bet on your own team, and guess what? They played like garbage. Only won by 5. So did not get that bet. Took the Jets thinking, hey, maybe we got things going. Well, I'm going to remind myself, I'm not betting on the Jets the rest of the year because unless I'm betting against them. The other game that I took was Detroit 3.5. They won by 3 on a last-second field goal, so lost by a half a point on that one. Another bad beat. So not a great weekend, but we made it close, so I'll take that. But I did win the Sodi bet against you. You're coming up.
When I come up this weekend, I'll have to pay up.
Yes, you will. So
What'd you think of the Vikings game? I wanted to ask you with the 4 field goals and Darnold.
I just think they're maybe coming down to reality. And what I mean by Darnold, like everyone was like hyping him up so much. If I had, I'm just going to say this, but if I had Justin Fields out there, or not Justin Fields,
Jefferson, yeah.
I could make some plays. You know what I mean? You had the running attack. You're not doing that as much now. There's no, like, what's his name? Jordan Addison.
Well, didn't Aaron Jones get hurt too?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But you got Cam Akers, so that's why you now got him. But like one of these things where like Jordan Addison is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Keith Hockenson, you thought you were going to get him back. The other tight end had more reception than he did.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where it's like, let's get back into it. You know, like, I just thought this was a type of game that you could kind of put a beating down and put your name back on it. And instead, it's one of these games where they're like, oh, the Vikings won. Good. That's it. There's nothing.
Yeah. They had to kick 4 field goals to do it. I mean, against a Jacksonville team that's going nowhere.
And honestly, if Trevor Lawrence plays that game, I think the Vikings lose.
Oh, I think so too. I agree. It
was a rough one, but we do have some football coming up this Thursday. Great game actually coming up this Thursday. Commanders versus Eagles. Eagles are coming off their win. Commanders coming off the loss, but nothing better than reverse what happened last week by getting a win. So Eagles versus Commanders on Thursday. What do you think about that game real quick?
I like it. It's going to be 2 good quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts against Jaden Daniels and Hurts going toe to toe. I kind of wish this was where they'd have more. It would be on a Sunday instead of a Thursday, because I think some teams they have to travel, which isn't very far travel. But I think it kind of hurts a little bit on a key matchup like it. I get Amazon needs some good games because they do get some stinkers, but lately they haven't been. I mean, the last game, on Thursday night was Baltimore and Cincinnati, and that was a pretty good game. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a really good game. You got Hurts and you got Barkley, you've got McLaurin. I think it's an NFC East showdown that probably could go a long ways to who wins the division.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a statement for who wants to take the head of that. We saw the Commanders jump off to an early start this year, and you're like, uh-oh, they got it. And then the Eagles bounced back and started getting their ways. I definitely think that I'm actually glad it's a Thursday night game, so I'm actually going to reverse you. I think this is a great standalone game, right? So I understand that, like, Thursday night with the quick transition, that's you, but this could have been a great Sunday night game or a great
Monday night.
Not a noon or a 3 o'clock Sunday game. Right. I want to be able to just watch this game. So I do think this will be a good game. I agree. I mean, Barkley did you hear the story that Barkley got drug tested multiple times after that game? Yeah, I did hear that. Okay, first off, what drugs are we worried about? He jumped over. So it's not and it's not you're right. He might have been on psychedelics the way he jumped over him. Like that one was a little like when I saw he got drug tested after, I'm like, but this will be a good game because, I mean, I think the Eagles' defense is starting to play a little bit better, too. They were one of those teams that their defense wasn't playing as great. They're kind of coming on a little bit. Can the Commanders' offense start getting the wheels going again, right? Scoring more, looking like more of them. But this will be a great Thursday night game. And then this week, we don't have any top 25 teams playing before Saturday, so we'll bring that up on Saturday. Tonight is which we're recording on Tuesday night. Tonight is the college playoff and the conversations about who the college playoff. I think Indiana's going to take a big jump.
I do too.
Because I think they deserve that. No, 1 second. If I told you that 4 teams out of one conference were going to be in the top 5, what conference would you have thought of?
I would have thought the SEC.
Easily the SEC.
Yeah.
The Big 10, and we talked about that on the last podcast, and I said the only conference that's not beating up on each other is the Big 10. The SEC, there's games like Georgia losing to Ole Miss. Ohio State wouldn't have lost that game against whoever that is, right? But Indiana, Ohio State, 2 weeks from now.
It's going to be, yeah. Oh, it'll decide who goes to the Big Ten championship. I can guarantee that.
Yep, yeah. Because, I mean, Oregon, nobody's touching Oregon right now.
No.
And you'll see Texas take a big jump up as well, too. They'll probably be number 3 as this wraps up. But so this is our Wednesday podcast. We recap the NFL, talked about bets. We on Saturday will actually be doing it in person together. So we'll be this weekend doing
first time.
First one together, and then on Sunday we'll do as well together. So, but hope you guys have a great week. We will see you guys on Saturday. And if you guys, one last thing. If you do like what we do, subscribe, like, comment, share it. If you don't like what we do, then scroll up right next to us. Have a great week. We'll see you on Saturday.